And now,
from Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Fasten your seatbelts. Here we are again, the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and as always, available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. I'm Alexander Leibner, and this is edition 92, week 46, and we're in November 2022. I can't believe it. 8 more editions, and we're at 100. What are we going to do? We're going to think about that. You can email us, editor@sandtontimes.co.za, or you can connect on social media at SANDTON Times, or visit the website as you have been doing at www.sandtontimes.co.za. Send us your questions, your comments, your feedback. It's always great to have you be part of the community, part of the team, giving us your input, giving us your thoughts. And you always know you find a home here every week for this hour or on one of the many platforms. Thank you to making the time to listen in on the show live on Mix 93.8 FM, or if you subscribe to the podcast, you're also welcome to do that. And I know that you're all across South Africa. Apart from Sandton, you're in all corners of the country and also all corners of the world. I'm always amazed to see where people tune in. All is well in Sandton land, I'm happy to report. And Vincenzo, you're back again as well. It's good to see you after a very exciting Halloween edition. And if you're listening live on Mix, don't forget the WhatsApp line is open as well, so you can use that and get in touch over and above everything else. Well, we had some great feedback on that Halloween edition last week, I must tell you. It was a bit different, but I hope you enjoyed it too. And we get to do some more of those sort of more focused shows, like, take an hour and sort of focus on a particular topic or particular something. I don't know. It's quite fun doing something a little bit different. Well, it's been quite a relaxed week, actually. I don't know. It feels like the year's winding down now. I mean, it's literally a few more weeks, and then that's it. I mean, by the 15th of December, it's all over, and then we see each other all over again in January, or in the middle of January. So I'll be interested to see what your plans are for the December break, and it's literally going to fly past now. I mean, November is literally just going to disappear. Well, what did we do during this relaxing week? Well, we had all that drama with that Sandton terrorist attack notice. I know we didn't even get a chance to talk about that last week. But there was a lot of drama in the build-up to the weekend. Then nothing happened. And, Joburg Pride went down well. And there was nothing else. I don't know. It's all gone quiet again, I guess. Vincenzo, you heard anything? No. I didn't hear anything either. So we'll hope that that's the last of it. But I actually ended up going to Nick Rabinowitz's comedy show, and he allegedly was also a target of this terrorist plot, according to one of the media outlets. And I'm happy to report that Nick and his audience survived the show. So that's good news. Then the Absa Champagne Festival took place in Sandton this past week as well. I didn't get a chance to go, but I sent one of our contributors, and she looked like she had a great time. She sent me some notes and she said, listen, having a fabulous time. I don't know how you don't have a fabulous time with bubbly in your hand. That can only be a recipe for a good night out. So good for her. I'm glad to see she had a good time. Then Rivers Church in Sandton, massive complex, a massive building. They celebrated their 30th anniversary. 30 years of having this presence in Sandton. Congratulations to the team. I'm sure we'll still have a chance to chat to them on this milestone in the coming weeks. And another interesting development, we actually launched the SANDTON Times mailer this week. So it's like a weekly newsletter, weekly digest of the best content that you get into your email inbox. And there's competitions and deals and information about places to go and things to do, the whole lot. So make sure you get yourself signed up for that if you want to get that into your inbox. On this week's episode, we take this show to a whole new altitude as I play you my pre-recorded interview with the CEO of one of South Africa's newest domestic airlines, now flying to Durban. Then he's releasing a new book on Generation Z, or Z as the Americans would say it, and all you need to know to cope with a new wave of youth born just after 2000. Next, I catch up with our monthly chat about money and millionaires on the continent. And finally, she's one of South Africa's top comedic talents who's also facing off in this year's Mrs. South Africa. All this and more coming up, but your headlines for this week are right after Vincenzo gets this hour underway with something with a local flavor.
Connect with the Santon Times. Email editor@santontimes.co.za.
This is the Santon Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and that was Danny Kaye and Brown Eyes. Such a great track. It's time to take a look at your headlines for this week. Well, there's some chess masters coming to Sandton. Chess enthusiasts are getting ready for November 12th to witness some of South Africa's top young chess masters compete against a grandmaster in an action-packed match at the Leonardo in Sandton. The 27-year-old grandmaster from Delhi, India, Sahaj Grover, has been residing in South Africa since 2017, and there'll be 3 unique events that make up this day of chess challenges. And we're going to put up all the details of this event on the Santon Times this week. So if you fancy a game or 3 of chess, it's a date, and you can get all the info. You can go along and witness it for yourself. Then the Cannabis Expo returns to Sandton. It's the largest cannabis convention to take place in Africa, and that's on from the 18th to the 20th of November. And it's got about 150 exhibition stands, and the entire world of cannabis-related products, services, and information will be there. So if this is something that tickles your fancy, well, that's the place to be. And there's also a food market and a music festival planned for this year's edition. And then Black Friday is around the corner. Can you believe it? It's that time of the year again. So mark it in the diary, 25th of November, 2022, the day the deals drop. But I do see some companies have released their plans already for 2022's Black Friday. And then there's some others who've just turned it into a Black Friday week or a Black Friday month. And then also there's Cyber Monday, isn't there as well? I'm sure there is. Last time there was. So I'm not quite sure how all of this works. But anyway, we're going to keep our eyes on Black Friday. And have you made a list yet of things that you are hoping to get at a better price than usual? I find it always quite useful that you start writing that list now as opposed to waking up on that Friday and going, you know what? We need a hot water bottle. We need a freezer. Let's see if there's a good deal. I think start making that list now. I'd be quite interested to hear what you have got on that list. Well, let's leave it at that for this week. After the break, we take this show up into the clouds as I play you my interview with LIFT CEO and co-founder Johannesburg Ayache, our highest interview to date. Stay listening.
You're listening to the Santon Times Hour. You're listening to the Santon Times Hour.
This is the Santon Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and also available on all good podcast platforms around the world. And if things are sounding a little bit different for this segment and for this interview, well, it's because we are recording this at 30,000 feet, somewhere between Johannesburg and Durban. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Johannesburg Ayache from LIFT Airline. And Jonathan, as we kick things off, congratulations on your inaugural flight between Johannesburg and Durban. How are you feeling?
Thrilled. We couldn't be more excited to be launching this route. The team has worked so hard to get everything ready for the day, and so far it's been exceptional.
Well, Jonathan, it's been an interesting journey for you, a new route. Originally you were just between Johannesburg and Cape Town. Now you're going Johannesburg-Durban. That must be quite a milestone.
Yeah, we launched in December 2020, so it was really in the heart of the pandemic. We knew it was going to be tough, and the team has done an incredible job getting us through to the point that we're at now. It's not been smooth sailing. All businesses, not just us, have really had to dig deep to make things work through the various waves of COVID. And the truth is we couldn't have done it without the support of our passengers. Where things stand today is we're very optimistic about the future, and hence us opening the next route, which is Joburg, Durban. We are aiming to open another route before the end of the year with more aircraft to the fleet. So that'll be Durban, Cape Town, and close the Golden Triangle between Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town. So that's the goal for this year. And then I suppose the sky's the limit in 2023 and beyond.
Well, let's talk about those additional aircraft, because we've been chatting to some other low-cost domestic airlines who've identified the 400,000 seat shortage in the market. Everyone's having to now make a run and get some aircraft on board to get us back to the capacity that we had before 2019. What are your plans in terms of acquiring new aircraft and bringing more aircraft online?
So this year we're adding 4 aircraft to our fleet. It'll take us up to a total of 6. I think the key thing is that there's a reason airlines have gone out of business, and that's because everyone has rushed to try and add capacity, and then inevitably what happens is demand is cyclical, demand does dip, and if there's too much capacity, it something has to give. And I think it's incumbent on everyone in the industry to add capacity responsibly. We're looking at it and we're monitoring it closely, looking where passenger volumes are. And as things stand today, we're only at about 70% of what passenger volumes were pre-COVID. We're not rushing. We're going to take a very balanced approach, and we're going to see how things go next year.
Why the decision to open Johannesburg, Durban above everything else?
So it's very interesting. Domestically in South Africa, passenger volumes between Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town probably make up around 75% of all passenger volumes in South Africa. So it makes sense for the aircraft that we operate, which are narrow body. So you need to use them on the higher volume routes. So for us, between Joburg and Cape Town is one of the busiest routes in the world. Next is probably in South Africa is Joburg, Durban. So it was an obvious choice for us. It's also one of the most requested routes that we have on social media. So it kind of confirmed for us that was the next correct route for us to go on to.
Well, we're on this flight now, and it's a quick interview because the flight isn't a long one. We've literally got 45 minutes to take off, fly and land in Durban. So it's always an interesting flight, flying from Johannesburg to Durban and Durban to Johannesburg. Any aspirations to go beyond borders in terms of LIFT?
Absolutely. I think we'll look regionally in 2023. It's definitely more complicated. You need to have bilaterals in place with other countries. You need to have a route right. So we're still only 2 years old, and I think the focus for us right now is to keep building on the basics and keep that focus on it, keeping the customer experience where it is. And once things settle down with the new aircraft and the new routes in South Africa, we'll look beyond that.
I mean, Jonathan, your background before this was in the ride-sharing space, in the e-hailing space. What have you learned about the aircraft business since you've moved over from cars to aeroplanes?
The best analogy that I've had when starting this journey, someone said to me, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose. And that's absolutely what it's been like. But the industry is actually very small. And what struck me from the beginning is how willing everyone has been to share knowledge and share their experiences. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Learned lots, but there's a lot that's actually follows through, and I think it's specifically around that focus on customer and focus on the experience and focusing on what we can do to make it easier for passengers. And that for me is the common thread between my experience at Uber and what we were able to do in the rideshare space and what we're trying to do here with Lyft.
You were also quite early in adopting a new concept around a premium seating experience. Some of it was, I suppose, as a result of the COVID-19 protocols, leaving a space in between seats. And it's something that you've now adopted as a permanent feature. What's the premium uptake been like?
People love it. In the beginning, it was, I think people chose it a lot to keep a space between them. But, I mean, we weren't even able to serve catering when we launched it because it was still banned. Now with catering, with our happy hour that we have on board, it's a really exceptional experience, and the take-up has been fantastic.
Well, we're currently sitting in the premium seats, and I know you've been dishing out cupcakes here. You've been very hands-on during this launch, I must tell you. I was quite amazed. You were standing outside the plane, handing us different vouchers. You've been dishing out cupcakes to the rest of the passengers on the plane. I mean, in terms of the premium experience, there's some various drinks, gin, whiskey. There's been coffee. There's been little canapes, or petit four, as some people might call it, that we've been snacking on. And like I said, this flight's almost not long enough to be able to take it all in. Jonathan, what are your hopes and aspirations for the airline as you go into 2023?
I think just to really build on the success that we've had, build on that ethos that we've created where our crew and our team have fun every day coming to work, and that filters down to the experience our passengers are having. It's the feeling that you get on board with LIFT that I think differentiates us, and we just need to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I wish you very many happy air miles. And Jonathan, it's been such a pleasure interviewing you. It's been my highest interview to date for a podcast and for a radio show. And I'm sure there's a term for it. I don't know if it's the Broadcast High Mile Club or what the word is. But Jonathan, thank you for being my first. And that brings us to the bottom of the hour on the SANDTON Times Hour. And we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
For more?
The SANDTON Times Hour continues.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM with Cannons and Tiesto with Fire For You, the Tiesto remix. Taking you into the second half of the SANDTON Times Hour. My name is Alexander Leipner, and you know how all of this works. If there's anything you heard on the show that sounded good, that you're interested in, that you want to get some more information on, visit the show notes on the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. You get a detailed breakdown, all the information you need, where to buy the books, where to speak to the people, who to email, who to phone. It's all there. Also, be sure to check out the social media accounts at SANDTON Times on whatever platform you use. And don't forget to get in touch whenever you want to with a tweet, a WhatsApp, a Telegram, a DM, or whatever it is that you use. And you can also use the hashtag SANDTON Times Hour. Now, I'm thrilled to be joined by someone I haven't spoken to in a very, very long time. I don't want to make us all sound very old, but he is co-founder and CEO of Student Village, now also an author. He's bringing out a book this week called Breach, How the Next Generation Are Consciously Disrupting the World. I'm thrilled to be joined by Ronen Aires. Ronen, it's so good to see you again.
Great to see you too, Alexander.
How are things going in the world of the youth? I mean, Student Village, you've been running for many years, and now you've brought out this book about our next generation.
Yeah, so this was my COVID project.
Oh, good for you.
So as you know, when COVID struck, everything closed down, including universities, and they went to distance learning. So I had time on my hands, and having spent over 20 years in youth, I found myself one day just lying on the couch with my laptop on me, with Netflix on in the background, half dressed. I'm not going to say what I was wearing or not wearing, about to hop onto another Zoom call, and I just had this lucid moment that as I am now is exactly what young people have been asking for decades. But it took a pandemic to get us to realize that we can do things differently.
Absolutely. And I mean, so many things that had been discussed in boardrooms that had been hypothesized for years. I mean, we've probably been to conferences more than enough where someone said, you know what, we should really look at remote working and all of that. And everyone said, yeah, okay, let's I don't know, do a report and we'll think about it next year. And then nothing happened. We suddenly were forced into situations that we actually didn't have a choice. And it was probably the best test conditions on some of these things. And some of these things we've actually kept post the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we find ourselves in a world that has really been designed for the next generation to step up and show us the way in how we can do things differently. They're primed for change. If I have to be honest, of all the younger generations I've worked with, this is the one I love the most. If you look at the generation before, they were seen as kind of lazy and entitled and desktop warriors, where this one, they're we, and not necessarily all about me. And they really come with a higher purpose of looking to fix up the messed up world they were born into.
So when we're talking about a generation, let's just define this generation. Are we talking about Generation Z, or Z, as the Americans would say?
Yeah, you call them Gen Zs, or you look or centennials. You're basically looking at the population that were born in the last few years of the previous century or this century, at the turn of the century. So you're looking at young people typically around 20 to 25.
So they were born sort of, what, 2000 odd plus?
Yeah.
So what defines them, Ronen?
So really you get the sense of they're much kinder by nature, generally. Obviously, this is a generalization, but I work all the time with them. So whether we're seeing them in campaigns or they're working for us in our company, and what you see through research all over the world, they're really guided by values. So when it comes to either choosing a brand or whether to accept them or cancel them, when it comes to choosing to work at a company, they're really guided by alignment of values. Everything is very values driven, and they really see like I said before, this higher purpose need to contribute positively both to their own purpose as well as to just fixing a really crappy world they were born into. Now, I'll give you an example. I was recently part of an entrepreneurs competition for students, and it was a worldwide competition. All the finalists all had come up with different businesses that would fix a social or environmental ill in our society. So that would not be typical, say, 5 or 10 years ago. That is, you'll see around gender fluidity, and all of those things, social justice. They're just primed for change.
I mean, it's also a generation that grew up with fully digital. I mean, they don't even remember analog times. They grew up with social media. I mean, that was pretty in full swing by the time they hit their teens. They probably don't know a world where you couldn't travel, where the world wasn't as open as it is now. But also, like you were saying, that was also not dealing with a lot of these issues like climate change. I suppose this woke culture that people refer to a lot as well. What are the downsides to this generation? I mean, what should people be aware of or should be conscious of when dealing with this particular generation?
Yeah, so the one thing to note is also maybe leads in from the previous question is mental health is a massive issue amongst this population. It's not taboo. It's something they speak about. It's something they really care about. So when it comes to making decisions, if it will affect their mental health in any way, they will either choose to accept or decline something based on that. And the one thing to really watch out for with this generation, I mean, they're known as a kind of ADHD kind of generation, but really the thing is they're a lot more transactional than previous generations. So they're used to instant gratification. So if things aren't working out for them, they'll just leave.
Wow. Okay. So they're prime for changing jobs often, changing products they buy often, suppliers, brands they engage with, all of that. Is that sort of coming and going?
Yeah. When I speak to brands, I explain it in a way where it's a bit asymmetrical. It's not really fair because they're expecting brands in the rest of the world to treat it like as if it was a marriage, but they treat you like we're on Tinder.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's probably a really good example. Who's this book written for, Ronen? Who do you think should pick up this book and start reading it?
So it's got multiple audiences, definitely leaders and decision makers in companies that either hire young people or market their products and services to young people, as well as parents and young people themselves. So for young people, this really gives a voice and a collective understanding of their factory settings, what their makeup is, so they're better understood.
Ronen Aires, he's the co-founder and CEO of Student Village, also the author of a new book coming out this week called Breach, How the Next Generation Are Consciously Disrupting the World. And if you are one of those generation, or if you have someone in your family, in your company, in your team that is of this generation, this is probably the book you want to pick up, have a read through it, and maybe that conversation on Monday morning is going to be a hell of a lot easier, or you're going to understand that next coffee conversation you're having with this person in way more context, and you can probably do much more with your business, with your teams, and hopefully with your family gatherings over December once you've had a read through Breach.
from Greater Santon to the rest of the world. This is the SANTON Times Hour.
Right, it's time for our weekly check-in with all things money, millionaires, and they're all on the African continent. And I'm thrilled to be rejoined by Chris Bishop, journalist and founding editor of Billionaire tomorrow. Chris, I can't believe it's been a month already since we last chatted, but you've been chatting to the continent's richest again.
Yes, well, one of the richest people in Ghana, actually, who's a bit of a character, a guy by the name of Ernest Sapong. He is probably worth, I reckon, more than about $600 million. He's got quite a big self-built fortune. Very sort of disciplined, very sober man. He went to a Presbyterian school, one of the top schools in Ghana. And as you know, Presbyterian schools are not exactly known for their art departments. It's all about discipline and all that sort of stuff. So that's where he went. And he's got a wide-ranging portfolio of businesses. I mean, he owns media, he owns radio stations, he has manufacturing. But one of the ones that made his name is he's into salt in a big way. You know?
Wow.
Produces about 10% of all the Ghana's salt. And it's interesting, is that he's got this little plant, which he spent quite a lot of money on about 10 years ago setting up. And what they do, they pump the sea in and to this salt plant, and then they dry the water out and have these like drying pans, and then they package it up and sell it, salt. And as he said to me, he said, it's a great business because your raw material is free. It's just from the sea. You've got to spend money on diesel to pump it up. But he's quite a character. He's got for a Presbyterian brought up man, he's got a flamboyant character. Certainly interesting. He's got quite a lot of the fripperies of wealth. That's another part of the story.
Well, kids, if you're listening, don't worry about becoming an accountant or a lawyer. This is it. Salt. Get into the salt business.
He's got Rolls Royces, Bentleys. He likes to indulge a little bit in his fantasies. And I was just looking that he was there with the president the other night. There's a guy called Gian Asamoah. He scored in the quarterfinal of the World Cup in Johannesburg, where you are. And he brought his book out recently. And the first person to buy it was the president of Ghana. And the second person to buy it was
his mother.
Ernest Sapong. He was there.
Right. Salt of the earth kind of guy. Yeah. Well, Eunice Ajim from Cameroon, venture capitalist.
Not what I expected, because she's very, she's out there. She's at all the conferences. A lot of young African women of her sort of caliber. She's based in the United States, but quite interesting because she's from a very sort of odd background. I mean, her father was an entrepreneur in central Cameroon. He had like TV and electrical stores across the country. I think he did quite well, but she went to the States when she was 16 to study, but didn't have that much cash, because you can imagine the exchange rate between Cameroon and the United States. So she pitched up in Louisiana in the deep South, and to get herself through, she started a hair business to get herself through college. And then when she left, her first job was working for Apple,
Wow.
As in, Apple was her first job. And then a lot of people said, well, she'd be happy with that. Coming from Cameroon to the States, she worked for Apple. She said, nah, she didn't like it. After a couple of years, she didn't like it at all. So essentially she tossed it in, and she's got into the investment world. So she finally managed to get enough to launch her own investment fund in January this year. So $10 million, which is small. It's venture capital. It's for like small little startups. Interestingly enough, she said like there are 2,000 applications when they started out, and they only let 4 through. There's 4 have gone through. There's another 4 pending. And she too, like Billionaire tomorrow, she's a believer in the African entrepreneur, and it's very interesting. I mean, she must be like only in her 30s, early 30s. And she's not that, the thing I like about her, she's very authentic. She's not that like smooth, TED Talk, private school sort of person. She's got very sort of, she says they're going to struggle a little bit. Obviously, you saw yesterday the Fed put its rate up and the Bank of England put its rate up. Interest rates are going up. So she's saying that, it's a bit rough. she's noticed that a lot of investments have fallen off recently in Africa, but she's hoping 2023 will be better. But then again, aren't we all?
And then, Chris, a man that we also had a few dealings with over the last couple of years, Fred Robertson of Brimstone. The case of the lost millions. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah. Oh, Fred, yeah, he makes me smile. I've always liked him, I mean, there's Fred, there's Mushtaq Bray, and then there's a guy called Laurie Brosin, who's the brother of the man behind Nando's, and Robbie Brosin. And the three of them started this investment company years ago. And what they did, and it's still a big part of the story, what they did, they took investments from people, like ordinary people in Cape Town, people with very little money, teachers, mechanics, service station owners, those people, and they invested it on the stock exchange and gave most of them, during the good days, good returns. Now, this started just after democracy in about 95, because they felt that, the country got political freedom, but most people didn't have sort of economic freedom. They were still doing the same jobs, earning the same sort of money. They put all this money away, but the interesting part of the story is, and this is why, if it wasn't Fred, it wouldn't make you smile as much. But the interesting part of the story is that in those days, there was no financial, money laundering regulations. There was no financial rules and standards like we have now. So people just signed their names on the forms for their investments, a lot of them.
Oh, you mean there was no FICA, no RICA, no SICA, no whatever?
No contact numbers, because some people didn't have cell phones then even. There was no, people didn't bother to put their phone numbers down, to just write their names. So what's happened, obviously 25 years later, a lot of these people have left their investments in there, made a lot of money. And they reckon to the tune of about 6.4 million rand, which is fair enough, which they've made for people, which they've got. And they're trying to find the people.
Oh,
they're
gosh.
trying to find, asking them around, do you know this guy, remember this guy? Because they've got no contact numbers for them. And et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to hunt around. And I asked Fred, I think the reason I like the story, I asked Fred and I said, why are you guys putting so much energy in these? No, Chris, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing. And it is the right thing to do. But what I enjoy about this story is that, we as hard-pressed consumers, if you put your deposit down for a cell phone company, you put your deposit down for TV license, anything you can name, when you stop using that service, you say, can I have my deposit back? Oh, yeah. We'll give it to you next week, next month. Oh, sorry, that person resigned. They can't help you out. Oh, no, sorry. Can you send us an email? I sent you one last time. No, can you send us another one? People will not give you back tuppence halfpenny. And yet, there's this investment company, they've got 6.4 million, which, $500,000. And they're saying, where are you? We want to give you your money back. Because, it's the right thing to do. And I just think some of those lovely stories that give you a hope sometimes in these dark times for the future. A company is actually trying to do the right thing and they're working hard at it. In fact, actually, I'm due to do another interview with him very, very soon. Fred, if you're out there, please get back in touch and, just to find out exactly how much they gave back. He told me they gave $500,000 to one person on their own. So I'd love to know who it is, what happened, how they actually found them. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, imagine, you're writing investment, you just sign your name on it and then forget about it for 25 years. So anyway, I think it's a great story of our time.
Well, that's the kind of phone call I would like to get. If someone says to me, remember you signed something a couple of years back and here's $500,000 rand, they were going to be EFTing to you. Chris Bishop, journalist and founding editor of Billionaire Tomorrow. It's been great to catch up with you again. We're going to chat again next month for more money, millionaires, billionaires, and everything else in Africa across the continent. It's, time for a quick break, time for a bit of music, and we'll be right back after this.
Follow the SANTON Times on social media.
@SANTON Times.
All right, it's almost done for another week on the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and also available on all good podcast platforms. And that was This Girl by Kungs and Cookin on 3 burners. Right, as we almost wrap things up, it's time to get in one more interview for the week. And I'm going to quickly introduce this interview in a slightly different manner because I'd met this lady at an event, and the most bizarre thing was that I'd actually seen a video of hers pop up on my Instagram timeline. the same morning. I don't know. Normally they always say if you talk about something offline, your phone's listening, and then suddenly something pops up on your phone. This was the other way around. So this happened online. Then she must have been listening offline and then popped up in real life. I don't know. It's quite, I don't know. There's a word for it, but it was quite bizarre. So I go to this event. I see this lady. I go, oh my goodness, you're that lady from that clip on Instagram. And why I remembered it so well is that it was unbelievably funny. And I'd laughed so much, it actually made my week, that clip. And I wish you to see it. But you can go onto her profile. Her name is Claudine Herman. She is a comedian, but she's also a finalist in Mrs. South Africa this year. And I thought, let's get her on the line to chat. And Claudine, it's good to see you again.
It's so nice to see you, Alex. I have one problem with your intro.
What's that?
So your intro goes, SANDTON Times. There's no kugel going, SANDTON Times. I think I need to re-record it for you. Come on.
We're trying to internationalize it a bit. You know what I mean? We can't be too stereotypical. The SANDTON Cougar is around and well, but yeah. I mean, you're more than welcome to. Maybe you should do like a little special promo for us.
Perfect. I'm down.
Yeah. So, Claudine, tell us a little bit more about Mrs. South Africa. I mean, you're a well-known comedian. You've been in some great movies. You've done a lot of stage work. Now you're in a beauty pageant. How did that all happen?
I know. It's insane, actually. I woke up one morning and turned to Danny, who is my husband, and said, I'm entering Mrs. South Africa. And he was like, no, you're not. You're crazy. And by 12 o'clock that day, I had sent in my interview clip, and I was like, I'm in this thing to win this thing. And it started off as, I'm going to win this pageant. It's going to be the funniest thing I've ever done. And my why has changed completely.
Okay.
Because I thought it was a once-off pageant. I was actually quite judgy of pageantry, if I'm being honest. I was like, it's objectification and they're making blah, blah, blah. But then I went to the first workshop and I realized it is a full, almost year's journey. And it is basically been the most awesome thing I've ever done, because I like to, first of all, before this competition, I suffered from debilitating depression, even as a comedian. Yes, we are real humans too, but I suffered from a debilitating depression. And now through this process, I've realized that in my life, I have walked on hot coals. I've given birth. I have performed in front of thousands of people. And now I would have walked the runway in an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. Tell me, Alex, what in the world can I not do? Nothing.
That is true.
So I've already won. That's how I feel.
You've walking away. Well, and that's a good thing. And I mean, maybe also just to put it into context for those people who are not familiar with Mrs. South Africa, there's a couple of other rules that apply that are not necessarily the norm with other pageants. So you already mentioned you can be married. I also see there's also not a height restriction, a weight restriction, a whatever. Like, I mean, you can have tattoos.
Tattoos for days. Look at my tattoo I got just before the competition, and also to remind me of this journey.
What does it say? You queen.
No, it says, yes, queen. You can't see because it's brand new and it's fresh. So
it's a bit smudged. Yeah, okay.
It's a bit smushy. It will look much better, but it says, yes, queen. And I put it on the same hand as the hand I hold my mic with. And it's to remind me every time I'm on that stage that it is a privilege to have a public voice, or a voice that is heard in the public. That I am unstoppable. There are no obstacles that can stand in my way. And I am fierce.
Well, I must tell you, what I thought was very refreshing with your particular partaking in this particular year's Mrs. South Africa, and you also down to the top 28, which I think is a fantastic achievement on its own. But you did take the angle of going with humor. A lot of other people tend to almost automatically gravitate towards going for inspirational or boss woman or whatever the kind of terminology would be when it comes to Instagram content. There's sort of almost like a bit of a format that people fall into. But you just decided, you know what, to hell with it. I'm just going to throw all this stuff out the window, and I'm actually going to literally make every step of my journey give people a bit of a laugh, entertain people a bit. And it almost felt like at some point also like a bit of a coping mechanism.
100%. So I'll tell you something. I've needed this competition for my personal growth and what it's done for how I feel about myself and my self-worth. But I feel like this competition has needed me. And the reason why I say that is we have come from 3 years of a global pandemic, of people suffering from debilitating depression. Why do we have to take life so seriously? I am very lucky. I am living my purpose. My mission statement in life is I uplift the world, spreading joy and light by giving others the gift of laughter. And everything that I do in my life needs to feed back to that mission statement, or I don't do it.
I think you've really made the best of the situation. And like you've said, you almost came into this probably with a whole different set of ideas or ways that you were going to deal with it. And you're actually walking out of this almost a transformed person. I mean, like or somebody who at least looks at life quite differently.
100%. As I said to you, when I first started, I thought, objectification. I'm going to be walking the runway in a bikini. Everybody's going to be looking at me. What it takes to love yourself enough, no matter what size, shape, wrinkle, dimple, roll, to get up on that stage and to go, I love myself, not just to stand there, but to bask in that glory and strut my stuff. There is no way that is not a transformative experience.
So, Claudine, transformative experience is almost coming to an end now. When are the final results coming out? When is the final pageantry? When do they crown the queen for this year?
The prelims, which they have never done a live prelim show. So this is where we actually get judged, like where the points are, where they decide top 10, top 5, top 3. Those prelims are going to be live. So you can attend the prelims at Emperor's Palace on Thursday, the 10th of November. Please, at checkout, if you are going to get tickets, use Claudine, because then it goes against my name and I get to reach my targets. Then the finals are the next night, which is the Friday night, the 11th of November, and also at Theatre Marcellus, and that is where you will see the crowning. So both nights are going to be glitz, glam, sparkle, really wow.
Okay, well, there you have it. There are the dates. And if you want to support...
use Claudine at checkout. Tell them, Alex.
Use Claudine at checkout. And that's Claudine Herman. She is a comedian. You've probably also seen her on Showmax, on Netflix, at comedy clubs. She was also a Mail and Guardian Top 200 Young South African finalist. And she's also been in Queen Sono. You've probably seen her as well. So she's got an incredible line of entertainment credentials, and now also a finalist in the Mrs. South Africa Top 28 for 2022. And it's been absolutely great having you on the SANDTON Times Hour. And thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having me, Alex. You're a legend.
Anyway, that's it for another SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and as always, available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. As always, you're free to email editor at sandtontimes.co.za and connect with us on social media at SANDTON Times, or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za and feel free to send through your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your news, your topical content, whatever floats your boat. Use those platforms. And also don't forget, we got that newsletter, that mailer that's going out every week. Make sure you're part of that and you get all the latest news. Thank you to all our guests who made the time to be on this week's edition. And also Vincenzo, as always, you did a great job. And thank you to the SANDTON Times team, as well as everyone at Mix 93.8 FM. And thank you for listening. And let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANDTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.